Hey guys, how's it going? Laura with Garden Answer. I'm super excited for today's video because I want to give you a tour of all the bulbs that are currently blooming in our garden. And as you can see from behind me, things are looking pretty good, so I've been looking forward to this for a while. And I'm also going to be planting some summer blooming crocosmia later on in this video, which is the summer bulb of the year. So we partnered with bulb.com on this video, which I've told you guys about before. They are a website that's just there for education and to promote the planting of bulbs, which I think is amazing because I love bulbs. They don't sell anything, they're just there to be helpful. So if you've ever had any questions about bulbs, like when to plant them, what to plant, visit bulb.com. And they're also giving away 2 sets of 35 crocosmia bulbs to 2 of you guys. It's super easy to enter. All you have to do is leave a comment below this video, either on YouTube or Facebook, or on both platforms, so you have 2 chances to win. So we'll start the tour right here. We're right behind the chicken coop. These were planted this last fall. This is called the Pinatage blend. It's a blend, I think, of 3 or 4 different types of tulips. We've got kind of varying colors of pink all the way to this deep burgundy color. We've got the light pink, which is really pretty. It's kind of a clear pink. We've got kind of a maroon color. And then this gorgeous one that's got pink with the green yellowish stripe. We've got the pointy petals, we've got the kind of smaller tulip. I just think it's a beautiful blend. And the whole reason I chose this color for back here was because I planted these heuchera. These are wild rose heuchera. And this little patch of tulips was here. I didn't plant these, the previous owner did, but I enjoyed this color along with this heuchera so much that I wanted to do something kind of similar so that I could kind of play off of that color combination. And I just think it turned out so beautiful. I mean, the whole drift goes all the way kind of to almost the end of our pallet walkway there. And I do have perennials in this area. I have seen quite a number of questions about what do I do once the tulips are gone? You know, what's going to be there for color? If you take a look in here, there's Veronica, White Wands Veronica planted in here. There's actually hydrangeas in here and Baptisia. So yeah, I've got a lot of stuff going on. There's a clematis toward the back. So I always tend to like to wait to plant my tulips until I have my perennials and shrubs in place. That way I can plant around them and everything can just kind of play really nicely together. So if we go across the walkway here, now we are a little late for some of our bulbs doing this tour, which is a little bit of a bummer. Some of the earlier blooming bulbs are starting to fade a bit, but you can kind of see some of these are still looking pretty fresh. These are Avalon daffodils. Look at how gorgeous. We've got like a lemony yellow on the outer part of the petal, and then it kind of turns into this creamy white. And I just thought this would be really pretty, kind of more of a bright spot back here. And I think I planted 25 in this area. And the other thing I planted kind of nearby, which are not in bloom yet, are these alliums. So these are like the little drumstick alliums that'll have just the little purple kind of spheres on top. So those will come in and bloom. I would assume maybe in the next month or so we'll see some bloom, and I planted 100 of them in these 2 kind of areas there. And then right through this, like under the pergola here, underneath the pine trees, I planted some trout lilies, which was the first time I have ever planted trout lilies before. In fact, I didn't even know if they would do very well here because our soil type I didn't think would be something that they liked. But they clearly are doing well and like it here. Look at the blooms on this. This one looks really gorgeous. I love the yellow with kind of that brown circle in the middle. And I think what I'm gonna do is order some more of these this fall and kind of deck this area out, because I do have my perennials in place at this point. You know, I've got my Hakanakloa heuchera and then Empress Wu hostas, the hostas will absolutely fill in this area. But early on in the season, they're not very big yet. You know, they're just pushing through the ground. We just planted these, so these are a little ahead of schedule from the rest of our hostas. But look at all that area in there that I don't really want to plant any perennials, but I can plant something like trout lilies or, you know, crocus or snowdrop, something like that that can kind of fill in and be our spring color back in here. But I am just so thrilled with these, and I really do like the foliage as well. So since we're back close to the formal garden, let's go check out the Globemaster alliums that we planted. Okay guys, so in this area, I've got 2 boxwood formations. There's this one and then the one on the other side. And I planted 50 Globemaster alliums in each cutout. So there's 100 in this area. And you can see how wonderfully they're doing. I don't think I lost a single one. They all came up. They all have formed their bloom spikes. And there is Nepeta in here, so that will kind of take over and fill in for some later summer color. But I think it's going to be so pretty. I just kind of imagine this being kind of a whimsical area where you can see these big purple spheres just coming out the top of the boxwoods. So you don't really see the foliage unless you come up close, but you know, if you're walking nearby, you can definitely see down in here and see all the activity. In this same garden, there are a bunch of yellow tulips, just classic yellow, which I like to pop here and there in the garden, just in small bunches, kind of like this, because it's just a nice bright pop. All right, guys, so we're under the weeping willow right by the Hebe statue, and this big drift of tulips in here. It's a blend called white cubed, and it is just starting to fade a little bit, but you can see even like right over here, they get a little bit more shade, so I think these are holding a little longer. And it was a mix of just beautiful, like a creamy white and a creamy yellow. And I've loved it, because when the willow comes out very first thing in the spring, it looks very golden, very yellow. And it was just such a beautiful blend because they married really well together. And there are 600 of the tulips right in here. I've got some limelight hydrangeas that will kind of take over. Now this bed is going to be interesting because I did not wait to plant my bulbs until like I had my perennials in place. So likely I will be coming in, digging up some of the bulbs to plant some things, but I just think it's beautiful. Most of the tulips I'm showing you today will come back in my zone 5 high desert area. Usually they don't come back quite as strong, but they are typically a pretty good perennial here for us. So next spot is by the angel statue. I planted some akebano tulips right here. These actually look the best right over here. These are another one that are just kind of starting to go out of bloom, but these are massive, massive tulips. Look at that. Creamy yellow with kind of a red margin. And I love this right here. Are those sepals? Anyway, like little petals right here that have some green in them. I think these are just so graceful, and I think I would like to add maybe a few more into this area. And that's the fun. If you plant something that's you're not familiar with variety wise, you can plant just a few and then see if you really like them and then add to it later if you decide to. So this area is coming right along. We're kind of behind our fireplace here, but the beautiful Korean spice viburnum, first of all, not a bulb, but it's looking gorgeous. And then if you look down from there, you can see this little bunch of beautiful tulips here, kind of a creamy yellow with pink around the edges. And then I did plant some big double tulips right back here that are not quite open, so they're a little bit later, and I'm excited to see those bloom. So these are looking amazing right now. This is a blend called Vidal, and it just happened to work out perfectly with the blooming of the lilac right there. I mean, that's a blend you just cannot beat. But this is a beautiful mix of tulips right here. We've got a double white, and it's also got the beautiful green kind of strappy petal on the outside. There is a fringed tulip in here, so you can see the gorgeous, just kind of frilly look of that one, and then just a classic white. But I planted, I think there's 500 right here, and they turned out beautiful right up against the boxwood hedge, and then there's a brick path. There are some incredible hydrangeas worked in here, so you can see right here. And that's the beauty of planting your shrubs and then planting your bulbs around it. They've actually kind of protected the hydrangeas from some pretty good winds that we've had. So if we walk this way, you'll be able to see a little bunch of daffodils, which are also double. I love daffodils. They're super reliable, and there's so many different varieties out there. And then going this way, you can see this little bunch. These are Movado tulips, and I think that these are so striking. I love the shape of them. Like throughout the day, they kind of open up really like wide, and then they close at night. But that burgundy up the center, and then there's a pink stripe, and then kind of an apricot stripe. So they're a kind of 3-color tulip, and I really like the structure in this area here. And then right here is where all of my labellopoc tulips are and were. I kind of messed this area up. So there are some labels kind of right in here. And then there's some kind of patchy labels around the rest of the area, and then some red ones that I thought I got dug out, but I clearly didn't get them all. But last year I came in with a bunch of perennials. There are Veronica and daisies and asters and lamb's ear and all kinds of stuff in here that I planted, and I completely upset all of my tulips. So that's something that I'm going to be ordering this summer. Probably could get them ordered now. And that's the thing. If there are varieties that you really, really like, you can order them early, get your name on them so that you don't miss out. Because if you really like a specific variety and wait until fall when it's time to plant them, oftentimes you won't find them in stock. So that's something that I'm going to probably be decking out this next fall and just filling in that area, because these labels are one of my favorites. This is color perfection to me. Like I could deal with a garden full of just this kind of, like, I don't know, it's kind of a brown pink and white. I think I could just deal with a garden full of that. I think they're so beautiful. So this is an area right up by our front entrance, and I planted 100 Clearwater tulips, which are these just striking, super tall, really strong tulips. And I really like how this area turned out because I decided not to do a big drift, you know, everything all in one spot, which I do like clearly because I did that in a few other places, but I decided to go kind of bunchy, like I did 10 in a bunch or 20 in a bunch. And I think it gave this area a really natural, kind of like easy feeling, which this bed kind of gives you that anyway, because we've got an old lilac here and then just a bunch of perennials. And then also we have the Centara double blue lilac and these together. Just absolutely beautiful. So we're up by the Versailles garden, and I did plant 100 Early daffodils, which we showed you in a previous garden tour. They looked a little bit more fresh at that point. They've been blooming for a really long time. They are an extremely fragrant daffodil, so that's something that I'm going to be considering when I plant more daffodils. If they're fragrant, I'm going to move them a little bit further away from the house. Some people like the smell. It's a little bit strong for me. So the last thing I want to show you are the Cafe Noir tulips that are around the urn here. And they have been planted up here now for, I think this is their 3rd year. So that kind of shows you how good tulips really do in our area, because I haven't replenished these at all. The only area where they're a tiny bit spotty is right here, and that's because this area got dug up last year to bring drip tubing, because this had no irrigation to it. So those got kind of disrupted. But other than that, they've actually multiplied, and you can see, like if you get in here a little closer, I planted 1 bulb in this spot right here. And now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blooms. And you know, some tulips will do better than others. This just happens to be one that does incredibly good. So anyway, that pretty much does it for the tour of what's blooming right now. I mean, I've got a little tulips here and there, just some classic yellows and things like that. But if you're seeing all of this and you're kind of like, dang it, I wish that I would have planted some, definitely put it in a reminder in your calendar to get some bulbs planted this next fall. But you still can put some bulbs in for summer blooms. So dahlias, crocosmia, which I'm going to plant here in a second, gladiolus, there's just a whole bunch of them. So I'm going to go grab the crocosmia bulbs and we'll head out behind the barn. I'm going to be planting them in a big raised bed. So this is where the crocosmia are going, in this raised bed that's kind of behind our barn and greenhouse area. And this spot gets full sun all day long, which is what these bulbs will want. They're actually called corms, not bulbs. This is what they look like right here. Just little guys that will plant about 4 inches deep and 4 to 6 inches apart or so. And then this is the flower that they produce. So I have 5 bags of this mixed variety, and they come in just these really bright colors, orange, red, and yellow. There are specific varieties too, like you can get one called Lucifer that's just a really striking red, but I'm planting these to use them primarily as cut flowers, so I wanted to do them back here so I didn't feel bad about cutting all the flowers that I wanted to, because typically when I put flowers in the flower beds, I feel a little bit bad by, you know, going out and cutting a whole bunch of them to take inside. So I did come out and I worked up this soil a little bit with our little tiller, but I'm going to add in some bulb tone first before I start planting, because they do like a pretty nutrient rich soil, but after this initial fertilizing, they should be good to go. These out of the way. Let me just double check on here. So 2 pounds for 30, so about a pound. So I need to sprinkle about a pound of this. I'm just gonna kind of do a few handfuls and we should be good. Okay. Just gonna work that in. So I've got 140 of these bulbs total, so I'm just going to try to lay them out as evenly as possible. I should be able to push these corms right down in the soil. You want to go root side down, you can see all the roots coming out. But I'm going to lay them out like that, and since this is such fluffy soil, I should be able to just push them down just like that. So the most important thing is just to get them down far enough and spaced out right. So if you're planting these in a flower bed that you already have flowers in, just make sure you take a little trowel or something and dig up your area. This is just easy planting because it's open and the soil has already been worked and is nice and fluffy. So they're all planted, I got them watered in, and at this point they're pretty low maintenance. I'll just kind of wait until they come up. I'll keep them consistently moist, and hopefully we'll have some really good updates to give you later on. And again, like I said, it is not too late to be planting things like this right now. So visit your local garden center, see what they've got to offer in terms of summer flowering bulbs. And also, don't forget to enter the giveaway. So leave a comment down below this video, both on YouTube and Facebook, for 2 chances to win 35 of these Crocosmia bulbs. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed the tour and the little planting demonstration, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.